Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Modern Firm. I'm your host, Noah Scher, and today I'm joined by someone who brings a seriously unique blend of financial expertise, strategic insight, and coaching wisdom. Amy Spandau, founder of Ablaze Financial. Amy has worked, with everything from early stage startups to global corporation, and now she's helping founders gain clarity again through her firm. Thank you, Amy. So excited to have you here today.
I'm so excited to be here, Noah. Thank you.
So, Amy, let's rewind a bit. I know you spent about 20 plus years in corporate, scaling companies. What made you decide to, take a step away from that and decide to build something for yourself?
So I did the traditional accounting and finance training. So I started in public accounting as an auditor and then went to become a controller at global companies and then startups and then taking a company public almost. So I've done the whole thing and then was the CFO at multiple startups. Really what it was I saw that the founder market was greatly underserved. So one of the great things about the startup community is it's actually fairly close knit. And I think part of it is because it's so hard to launch a business. But in about 2015, I started coaching in that space on an independent basis, just helping our community. And I just saw them being underserved. I wasn't ready to leave corporate yet, but after a couple of experiences where corporate wasn't aligned with my values, and just knowing more about myself, I realized that I wanted to give it a shot and see if I could help these founders. Corporate America is a wonderful place in a lot of ways, but there's also a lot of abusive practices, and I just do the right thing is my core value. And I just realized that in order to do the right thing, I had to go out on my own.
Yeah, 100%. Was there a certain moment for you where you kind of were like, hey, I'm just gonna go all in, or was it kind of like an accumulation of things over time?
So, at my last role in corporate, the CEO and I decided that we just wanted to go a different direction than the private equity team. And
Yeah.
so we made a decision to leave. It was a joint decision between both of us. And it really gave me a time to step back and realize what I wanted to do. And so on that time, I took a sabbatical and I was like, what is it that I really want to do? And I decided that I wanted to build my own firm.
Yeah,
And it took
100%.
another solid 2 years, like once I really started Ablaze, to get to my own product market fit. And I still entertained some corporate clients. But really now Ablaze is 100% founder focused and 100% small business. So
Yeah.
my sweet spot is companies between 0 and 5 million of revenue when they start with me.
Yeah, totally. I admire that jump. A lot of people, even people my age, all of my buddies that are working now that they've graduated college and everything, they have great ideas. Even people that know that have experience, they're just too scared to just take the jump and take the risk, and start their own business. Would you say it all starts in the mindset, right?
So I think that everything can be trained for the most part. The question is how comfortable are you and how good at it are you going to be? And what I've learned as I've gotten older is that the most important thing is finding your purpose, whatever it is that you were put on the planet to do. And if you can align with your purpose, then everything that you need to do related to that is going to be easier. But make no mistake, being a is the biggest mirror for personal growth that you could potentially journey upon. And so it's a combination of all those things. And so I think part of it is if you have a very low risk tolerance, you're probably not even going to want to be a founder. And so the question is, if you have a middle risk tolerance, are you willing to take the steps to go for it? And that's going to just come down to your own fortitude.
Exactly. And the self-doubt creeps in. Can I do this? And a lot of people give up in the early stages, but it's all about working even when you don't see results, right?
Yeah. And I call it fortitude.
Yeah,
Like you have to want it more than anything else in your life. You know what
yeah,
I mean? You wake
100%.
up thinking about it, you go to bed thinking about it. It's where you want to spend your time. And when all of those things align, it's still not always going to work every time, but at least you have that energy and momentum behind you.
Exactly. And learning from every mistake, right? I know it's like
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with someone else about this too. It's like oldest saying in the book is, every failure is a lesson, but no one really applies that, right? A lot of people that they have one setback or one failure and they think it's all over and that they're never going to recover. But pushing through even when stuff sucks, even when it's hard, is what sets people apart totally.
Absolutely. Well, failure is the process. I
Yeah.
think that's the other thing is that it is failure. Failure, 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 failure,
Yeah.
and then an overnight success is 10 years later.
Yeah.
And I love it and hate it all at the same time. I think you just get more comfortable with being uncomfortable over time.
Yeah, you build that tolerance. Exactly. Amy, so I'd love to shift gears here a bit. I know that now you're working with a lot of founders, right? Especially those in the 0 to 5 million range that are, rapidly growing. That's, where businesses grow the fastest. And so what are some of the financial blind spots that you might see, when you're dealing with that clientele base?
It goes actually beyond a blind spot. So, really, foundationally at its core, as I was getting to product market fit myself, is understanding that in the US, we don't talk about money at all. So we don't talk about it. You're lucky if your family talks about it, but that's
Hmm.
really actually pretty rare. And so we don't have any financial education. And there's a really big difference between a business education and actually understanding money. And it seems weird that that would possibly be the case, but it's very different when it's a company's money than it is when it's your own. And just like we were talking about risk tolerance, there's risk tolerance when it comes to finances as well. So there's people that are natural savers, there's people that spend money in order to feel better, and everything in between. And
Yeah,
so it was really interesting when I started working with the truly small businesses that there was so much emotion about the money.
yeah,
And so at Ablaze, what sets us apart is we take the technical accounting and finance, which I train you and educate you over time, and the bridge to the emotional. So what I see that gets presented to me is a lot of emotion and tears for the women and anger and frustration typically for the men. And
yeah,
that's because there's no education. They know that they're supposed to know it, but they don't know it, and it's the lifeblood of their business. And in the journey between ideation and profit, and then from profit to paying yourself, talk about financial challenges through that process. And so I think that that's the biggest challenge for them is I don't have an education. B, I'm scared I'm doing it wrong. C, this is my dream. I don't want it to fail. And I'm scared to death to tell anybody what's really going on. Right. And these are the sleepless nights, the worried about making payroll, pulling out your credit card and not being sure it's going to not be declined.
yeah,
And that is all a normal part of being a founder. It's
yeah,
very rare that someone has the perfect financing to get them from their idea to product market fit.
yeah,
And so that's the biggest challenge I see is this gap between education and then you're just doing a really hard financial thing. It's
for sure.
expensive.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's actually ties in into what I wanted to ask you next is something that I think, sets Ablaze apart is your guys' blend of finance, operations, and then also teaching and coaching the owners of these businesses how to lead from a place of understanding and not just be blind to their financials like a lot of other businesses. So if you could take us through, how you walk through that and how that works in practice at Ablaze for a client.
Absolutely. So we developed a staged process that we take our founders through. It's slow, even though they might be growing, and even though I could, if they could afford it, place an entire accounting and finance team in their organization, they can't move very fast. So one of the interesting things is, and this isn't a knock on them, and my philosophy is for a founder. So when I was the CFO of an organization, I would tell you I'm 3 inches wide and 3 miles deep. If it's in my scope of responsibility, I have the time, I have the resources, whether it's staffing or cash, to do whatever is needed for anything that you need, Noah, if you're in another department. But if you're a founder, you are 3 miles wide and half an inch deep, and you are not appropriately resourced. You don't have enough staff, you don't have enough time in the day, and you can't solve the problem because you don't have enough cash for most businesses. So we do this slow process because at the end of the day, A, I want to steward your resources. B, I don't want you to burn out. And C, we've got to get you to the point where your focus is revenue, because the thing that we can't do for you is revenue. And the solve for most every founder that comes into our stable is they need to focus on revenue. Because if we have enough revenue, then we can get to profit. And once we have profit, then we can make sure that there's enough cash in the system, whether it's paying you individually or taking care of your stuff at home.
Yeah.
And so it's slow because I need you to make sure that we don't drop the ball anywhere. So we start with business finances, so taking care of your books and getting you books that you can understand. Then we take care of your personal books, because that's something that we do that nobody else does, as far as I understand, because I need to understand, Noah, how you spend money personally and your business, because your business has to be able to pay for both.
Mhm.
And then we focus on cash flow, because that's what's keeping you up at night, is making sure that you can make payroll and making sure there's enough money in the system. And then we focus on process, so taking more stuff off your plate.
Yeah.
And then 5 is debt and capital. So making sure that your debt and capital, both personally and in your business, is structured right. And
Yeah.
then it's the fun stuff. It's everything else, whatever it is that we're growing to do. And
Yeah.
so I'll pause there because there's probably questions.
I love to hear that actually. And I think that's the reason why you guys are growing at the rate you're at is it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, that you guys are approaching it more from a partnership perspective and like actually trying to benefit this business. You know, a lot of the firms that we see, um, are, you know, they're just kind of a vendor. You go, you pay for the services, it's done, you receive the reports, and a lot of the time these small business owners are great at what they do, you know, in whatever business they have, but they're not financial experts. And so they'll look at this information that they're given and they're like, what the hell am I looking at, essentially? So I like that you guys are kind of that, it's like a one and done shop. You know, you're coming in, you're analyzing everything, you're putting in systems that need to be put in and actually caring, if that makes sense. That's what I took from that.
And we do. And that is,
Yeah.
we call it relational finance. And because a lot of firms listen to this, what my recommendation for the other firms is, a lot of accounting and finance professionals just don't understand that everyone doesn't understand the numbers like they do. And I don't blame the firms, right? There's a combination of reasons why they can't get to relational. And a lot of it is because the clients just don't understand. But part of it is because the service providers don't understand. And then the third missing link is pricing. So we're more expensive than the average price. We're definitely more expensive than a bookkeeper, or more, it's a different pricing model than a tax CPA. But part of it gets into, I'm trying to meet the clients where they are and what they need. And so if you look at an accounting website, they all say the same thing. We help you make better decisions. We get you data to help you understand your numbers. I mean, there's a handful of them. But what I realized with my clients is they don't even understand what that means. They don't know what a balance sheet is. They don't know what an income statement is. They barely know what revenue and cash is. And they would say, I'm growing because my cash is either getting higher or lower. And so our firm meets them exactly where they are and have a staged process, because I did this. I tried to understand. I've priced at the bookkeeping rates.
Yeah.
I've tried to do all of that stuff. But what I realized is that they just need to be taken care of in a different way, and they really don't want to learn it. So my bargain with them is, you don't have to learn it now. But my goal is that 3 years from now, you feel confident walking into a bank, if I don't do it for you, and getting a loan, or talking about your finances at a presentation or on a podcast or with your parents or whatever, that you understand how you're doing. And I'm in it for the long haul, and my goal is to graduate my clients, right? I want you
Yeah.
to get to 10 million so that we place your full team.
I love to hear that. And I actually want to touch on something you mentioned there is a lot of people, you know, when they have a business, they will just try to put their prices and their rates at whatever the lowest is, just so they can get the deal. And I think that it's important to kind of recognize the value you bring, right? Like you said, maybe your prices are a little higher than other firms, but you're getting what you paid for. And if you want to have a financial advisor or a business that you're working with that's just going to toss you reports and not explain what any of them mean, especially because business owners, they don't have the time to care or to learn, and they just maybe don't want to. They're focused on their business. And so staying put on what you're providing and the value it's going to give them, and not bending to, pressure, or a lot of people just want to give discounts or give the lowest rate just so they can get the sale. I think it's unsustainable. So I love how you're
Exactly.
touching
And it
on that.
also, and what it does is it feeds the problem in the market, which is the clients don't value the service. And they don't value the service because A, they don't understand it, and B, they've gotten bad service.
Mhm.
Right. And so part of what I broker is I'm teaching as I go. I think it's a simple pricing model, but my
Yeah.
clients, it takes them a while to understand it, how it changes based on stage, how it changes based on complexity as you grow. It's complex because I have to cover my base and where our risk is related, our risk, the hardest clients to serve are the ones that have the least amount of money. Right. And the thing that I tell them is you have to be willing to make an investment. This is an investment in your future to give you a shot at making this work. Right. I can untangle anything that you've done. You focus on revenue. I'll untangle what you've done. I will make sure you don't run out of money
Yeah.
for the most part. But there's a cost associated with that. So if you want that partnership, we're your team.
Exactly. I could not agree more. A lot of people think that they want guarantees out the wooza and everything like this. I think it comes down to personally, they're not confident in what they could do, right? If you have a good system and someone's offering you something that you think can work for you, but there's no guarantee out the end, oh, we're gonna make you X amount, we're gonna do this, do that. I think it comes down to self-belief and realizing that if you want to get to $1 million a year, you're gonna have to invest money to get to that point, right? It's not just gonna come to you. And so
Exactly.
investing in yourself,
I've been burned too,
yeah.
right?
Oh, for
So
sure.
you trust someone, it's an area that's not your area of expertise. And this is why I try really hard not to do the hard sell. Because I want clients that really want to work with me. And so you're buying me right now. I'm working on building systems and stuff. You're buying me and my team, and I take that very seriously, but I also want to scale, and that'll evolve over time into systems. But, my team goes the extra mile to make sure that we take care of our clients because I don't ever want them to feel burned. But that's just a different level of effort, right?
Yeah.
And that goes back to my value of do the right thing. And so I feel bad for them. Like I've been burned myself, and you usually get burned somewhere where it's not your area of expertise. But also, I've made mistakes in the last 3 years. Like, you know what I mean? How I financed my own business. I know now because I work with debt partners that there was a different way to do it. That's what built my stage 5, right? Is
Mhm.
how should you fund this business when you still have a great credit score and no debt? You haven't done anything. I have the most expensive Apple leases on earth, like because I outsourced it. I said, this is what I want, but I didn't check it. And so you're still going to make all these mistakes. That's in my native area of expertise. I know
Yeah,
better, right?
totally.
Like I knew better on the Apple leases. I just didn't check the fine print.
Yeah.
And so you're going to make mistakes, but it's still really hard when you're not paying yourself and you've bought services from someone and they let you down. That's just
Yeah.
really painful. And it takes me on average 6 months to a year to earn the trust with my client because they're just not used to trusting someone because they
100%. Especially in this market we're in now with, I mean, everyone is trying to get into sales and everyone's trying to sell you something. I mean, you could look at my inbox, Amy. It's like
I know.
every other email is someone saying, "Hey, we'll come into your business and optimize and blah blah blah." I'm the of opinion that if you have a business and you're providing a service, lead with value, show what you can do for them, and then leave it at that. If they're interested, they're interested, and if they're not, then walk away. A lot of people, even myself, I did, kind of going off a tangent here. I did real estate a little bit a couple years ago. Now I have a business. We talked about off camera, but what I did 2 years ago, I was doing real estate, and I invested $5,000 into this partnership that was gonna expand my real estate portfolio and whatnot, and I got totally burned on it. I mean, it was a complete scam, and I was so no, it's all good. The money's gone now. A couple years back, we're all good now. But at the time, I was so upset, and then every single ad I saw for anything else, I just thought it was a complete scam off the bat. And so learning to lead with value and then leave it at that. And I hate this market we're in with high pressure sales and everyone's trying to sell you, and it's just very frustrating. So kind of being able to navigate that is a skill in and of itself, I would say.
Exactly. And find the right partners,
Yeah.
right? And one of the struggles too is it's so lonely to be a founder. No one understands your family unless you're so my parents were just normal people that worked for other people, and most of my friends aren't founders, and I've changed that over time, because it's lonely. So sometimes you're just like, oh my God, you understand my problem. You're going to help me hold this. I call it holding it, like just the stress, just the everything. But part of how I've designed this is that's the relational finance because I help you hold it. Like I get the text message at, how do I do this or whatever? Like I get all the questions
Yeah.
and what I'm trying to do is be the different service provider that does it different. Not that I'm not going to mess things up or whatever, but I'm here to hold it with you. And you get to leverage my expertise. And I wish more people did that because I won't engage in the hard sell. I don't believe in it. I am disgusted by it.
Yeah.
And if you haven't established a relationship with me, then I'm probably not going to do it. But then I'm surprised because I get an email from you, Noah, or I have an interview with a potential intern tomorrow that was incredibly well crafted and very personalized. And I'm so excited to talk to her. So it's, can you manage your inbox? Because like that inbound stuff sometimes becomes the clients you're going to work with or the marketing. And so like, how do we navigate it to find the people that are aligned with us?
100%. I think that good point on that. I want to touch on. So there's this idea that, anyone who's trying to sell you something is trying to scam you. And I think that that is a valid concern based on everything we just touched on. At the same time, though, I think that outbound marketing and trying to reach out to people, there's nothing wrong with that. Where I think it becomes the problem is when you're just trying to sell just to get the sale and not provide any real value, right? I mean, there's so many marketing agencies, so many businesses across any industry, accounting, and when I did real estate, finance, engineering, that they'll pitch something that sounds so amazing, and then once they get the sale, they'll walk away and not really care, right? So it's about, like you said, connecting on that human level, actually building trust, and not trying to just sell something off the wazoo as soon as you meet someone.
Absolutely.
Amy, I'd love to ask you another question regarding work-life balance. So I know that a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners are told to, hustle 24/7 and never take a break and whatnot. And that's true in certain points of your journey. There are going to be times where you have to just sacrifice everything and work, but there is a balance, right? I know you talk about a holistic approach. And so how do you set up systems and financial systems that, support business growth and also allow some personal peace of mind?
So it's a complicated question because I think it changes. So when I left corporate, I was 220 pounds and incredibly unhealthy. So you wouldn't recognize me. And there was lots of reasons for that. We don't have to go into them, but just say that I was unhealthy because I had made a series of decisions that made me very unhappy. So as I healed, part of that healing process was building a life aligned with my own purpose. And I really believe that my purpose is to help people understand money and use it better and grow their businesses. And I already have the idea for ancillary brands that are supportive of that. But my identity is to help bring the conversation about money to the forefront, help people understand money at a better rate. When you're working inside your purpose, the whole dynamics change related to the hustle. But in order to, because what happens, you have to holistically build yourself. So part of that is purpose. Part of that is your health, and your health is physical and mental. Then you have to have strong relationships. You have to have resources like financial resources. There's a series of things that have to be true in order for you to be happy as a human. And work is something that we do more than anything else. And so for me, the two foundational principles are you have to get enough sleep to start, and then you have to be working inside your purpose. If you can get those two things pretty right and work on your health, you're pretty good. But what happens, and I'm struggling with this now a little bit, is A, I'm healthy. B, my business is healthy, but there's not enough time in the day. And just so you're aware, I work out probably 10 to 12 times a week. So I work out a lot. Part of that is to balance my mental health. I have a pretty robust social schedule. I take care of Rhea, my puppy. And so it's hard because the lever becomes if I do any of those things too much, the rest of the system falls apart. And that's what the challenge is. That's what I think they say balance is, but I hate that word because it's so hard and it changes every day. But
Yeah.
how I take care of it is my physical health is very, very important. And I can only push the hustle for probably about 4 weeks before the wheels start to fall off.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. And I think it's an uncomfortable conversation, especially in this space. Physical health and going to the gym and everything, it may seem cliche, but I believe that that is the foundation of everything as well.
It
I, li-
absolutely,
I
it
lift,
absolutely is.
yeah, I work out 7 days a week. Even on the days where I'm not lifting weights, I will go do cardio, I'll go run, I'll hit abs, I will do anything because I'm not sure if anyone else feels this way. I think a lot of people do, but if I'm not moving and not getting exercise, I will just feel terrible in every other facet of my life. I'll be in a bad mood.
I think physical movement ties to mental health more than physical health, at
Yeah,
least for me.
yeah.
And so that was an interesting shift to me to realize that the movement is not for aesthetics, the movement is for mental health. And when the mental health is well cared for, the nervous system is well cared for, then the engine itself can then be deployed for other things like working on our businesses. But I agree. And what's the other fascinating thing, I don't know if you find this, is that when I'm intellectually tired, I don't want to go. But what intellectual tired is for me is a signal from my nervous system that my body needs to move
Hmm.
because you're
Yeah.
not supposed to sit in this chair for 12 hours a day. And so it's just been fascinating to realize that that voice, that intellectual tired, is just a signal to go work out.
Yeah. I mean, how many times when you're sitting at your desk working all day, you're more tired than the days where you're literally working out all day, right? Just
Yeah.
sitting at it. Yeah, exactly. And I agree with you there.
But like if I listened to that part of me that said we're too tired, then I'd miss the importance because I can be that tired and go to grit. I cycle, I lift weights, but grit is my kind of end of work day thing. And I ride the hardest class, like a hard class. Not all the classes are pretty much the same, but I just ride a really great class. And I'm like, how is that possible? I was so tired when I left my desk. And then I
Yeah.
felt like $1 million. And so
100%. I mean,
it's amazing.
how many people have you heard say, the gym saved my life, or and it allowed me to gain the self-control in my life and fix my mindset, and then after that, everything is upward spiral. But I do believe it all starts with
Yeah.
physical health. And I'm not saying you have to be, some tool who's pumping weights 24/7 and flexing and everything like that, but to just go and work out and move and be healthy, it's gonna make every other aspect of your life better. Because without that, if you're unhealthy, you're gonna have a bad state of mind. No matter how much money you make, you're still not gonna enjoy it, right? Do you want to have money if you're not able to move, or if it hurts when you get up? So that baseline of physical health, and it's a conversation that I think needs to be pushed more out, especially in the business world, because they are tied so close, and I think that not a lot of people recognize that.
And the other thing that I encourage my founders, and it just takes people a while, is that you need to work out when it works for you. So like if you made me know if you're like tomorrow and you're working out at 4:30 in the morning, I'd be like, I would have anxiety starting right now and I couldn't do it. But I work out kind of at noon and at 5. So like that really works for me. And my clients all know where I am. They know who Renato is. They know what grit is. And they know that the only time I don't pick up the phone is then. And so you can make it work. And you can make it work at whatever schedule that you need to make it feel your best. And so, I do work out on Fridays early in the morning, and that's just for mental conditioning.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
it's hard. It's
I
just
mean, even when you don't want to do it, you got to do it.
I don't want to do it because that's just mental toughness training.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like you said, it's around your own schedule, and as long as you're getting it in. A lot of people think that, oh, I have to wake up at 4 a.m. and be at the gym 5 a.m. 7 days a week. I mean, I go every single day. I go at a different time. I don't have a set schedule. Like today, I'm gonna go at
Exactly.
like 7 p.m. Tomorrow, I might go at 5 in the morning. It kind of just depends on when I'm feeling it and when I think that I need to do it. Sometimes if I'm
Exactly.
like my mind is focused on work and I don't want to hit the gym, I'll grind out work until I'm burnt out and then go hit the gym and then come back, right? It's like a reset. I don't know if you feel the same way after a workout, you come back like mentally clear.
It's a gift. If I could give everyone the gift of understanding, because when you show up at the gym for the first time and you don't, you're like, they think we're crazy, Noah. They're
Mhm.
like,
Yeah,
I
I know.
can't even imagine what they're talking about. And
Yeah.
just so everyone knows, I've been training steadily now for almost 3 years, and it probably took a year for me to like really feel the benefit, but I highly encourage it. It'll unlock your highest performance for sure.
Exactly. And it's the same thing with business. It's not easy in the beginning. So in the beginning, you have to push through it regardless of how you're feeling, and then
It's
eventually you're
never
going to
going
see
to be
results.
easy, Noah. I don't think it's ever going to be easy. The
Fair
problem.
enough. Fair enough. Amy, I'd love to switch gears again here and talk about, the trend of the world we're in now, regarding tech and automation and AI and all the buzz around all of these things in the financial space, especially. What's your take on everything like that, and how are you seeing it maybe play out in the space, and what are your takes on that?
So I've always been tech forward. I really love technology, and I've never thought that technology was it was always going to improve the accounting profession. And so the first time I really saw, and just because I think the history matters, I worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers was the firm that I worked at, and PwC through Coopers and Lybrand had the first audit software. This was way back in the day, everyone. It was like 1998, 1999. KPMG didn't load audit software until like 2012, right? And you think about that, the people that are early adopters, I couldn't even imagine auditing without software, right? And software and technology is something that can enable, but the accounting and finance profession is highly technical. And I'm excited about what's happening. And AI and ChatGPT is literally transforming my business underneath. And it's not in the way that people, I think, would think. I'm sure that, QuickBooks says, oh, we have all this AI, make your accounting so easy. QuickBooks is helpful, not helpful, kids. Like, we know what we're doing and it still screws stuff up. So
Yeah.
there's something, because there's a certain amount of art in accounting. Like I always say that good accounting is like a fashionista's closet or an amazing car garage. Like it's very organized, you understand it, it's highly customized, but you walk into a fashionista's closet, you know what's happening.
Yeah.
That's the same thing with accounting. And that's art, not necessarily science. And so, I'm not worried that accounting is going to lose jobs, finance is going to lose jobs, but what it is it's going to change and how much more efficient we can be. My entire team is mandated to use ChatGPT every day. We have a Slack thread in our Slack that's called Tech. We have
Yeah.
one for ChatGPT itself. My team, it's just so fun to watch them play. And I've said, if you're not using it for an hour or two every day to make your jobs easier, I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
And for me, the biggest thing is the improvement to my client communications. So, and my ability to use it to do long form thinking about what I believe to be true about the
Yeah.
world and my work. And so I think it's an amazing enabler, not something to be scared of.
Yeah.
And
Essentially.
no,
So essentially just using it as a tool to leverage it, right?
yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people think that, especially accountants, and that's the business I do, is AI. And I use AI tools maybe 9 hours a day. So I know how it is. And a lot of people there's two ends of the spectrum that I see. You have the people who, like you said, the QuickBooks AI, it'll do everything for you, that they think that they could just automate their entire firm and have it run and, just be printing money. That is never going to happen because there's always going to be the need for the human touch and the human oversight. And you have the other side of the coin where people think that it's going to eradicate them and make them obsolete. And that's also not going to happen. What I believe is going to happen is the firms, and this is across every single profession, not even just accounting, the ones that are leveraging AI automation and all the new technology, regardless of whatever comes out. And it's not even just AI; it's the same thing with the internet, right? The companies that were hesitant about the internet were never going to use that. They thought it was evil. I mean, you had people who thought the internet was like some evil invention, and then they were all forced and bent to use it later on. And so, kind of staying ahead of the curve. I mean, same thing with the calculator, even for example. And I hate to use this example, but that didn't erase the profession of
No,
mathematics or
and this is why I think it's fun. I've had the same calculator, Noah. Like, well, he's like number four because it just doesn't last that long. You know what I
yeah.
mean? I still use this. Still super, super. an old school tool, super helpful, helps me do like long form math when like I'm on a call, right? Like I think that's the thing that's really interesting is I'm using AI every day. I have an old calculator. Like, what I encourage people to do is be curious and creative about the tools you're using to try and make your job easier. And
Absolutely.
I think that's what I want people to see. I think in today's environment where everything's a little bit crazy, find the things to be joyful about. Find the things to be excited about because there's a lot of really cool stuff that's happening. And
Exactly.
I am able using ChatGPT to move so much faster than I could, particularly with my forward-facing marketing collateral and strategy.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I love it.
Yeah. Especially now in 2025, everyone is early to it, right? No one is a true expert or knows everything about it. It's still in the early phases. I mean, all these AI tools are still coming out and are still new. So,
What I can't wait, and I don't know how much I'd pay for it, is when
yeah,
ChatGPT has unlimited memory and can read across threads. That's what I'm waiting for is like unlimited memory, right? So that you don't even need memory at that thing because your memory is 100% of your threads,
yeah,
right? And when it's that, it's an extension of me,
yeah.
right? It's an extension of my brain.
You could be anywhere you want to be at any
Can't
time.
wait. Yeah, I
Yeah,
cannot wait.
totally,
It's going to
totally.
be amazing because he gets confused.
They do sometimes, yeah. They'll like ask you about something that you already told it like 10 times and like read back on the messages.
Yeah, but you're like, it's over here. You know what I
It's in the
mean?
other thread. Yeah,
Yeah. I love it.
totally. Amy, last question for you is what is one piece of advice that you would give to a small business owner who is maybe made some progress but very overwhelmed and unsure of where to move next and just kind of feeling stuck? What's the first thing that they should be doing?
The most important thing is to surround yourself by trusted advisors. Being a founder, I really believe, is the hardest journey you can intentionally choose in your life. I think that it's not that there's not harder things, right? Growing up in a war-torn country would be, I think, more challenging, right? Getting sick would be more challenging. But being a founder is the fundamental choice that we make intentionally of our own volition and of our own heart. I think it's the hardest choice you could potentially make. So, who you surround yourself with matters. And having people that can help you navigate this is really, really important. And I also would say your heart knows. So, this isn't an answer about like the math. This isn't an answer about I have an accounting problem. Your heart knows the advisors you want to work with, and you need to trust it. And if that means you go slow, that means you go slow. But the biggest accelerator you could do to get from idea to profit and from profit to paying yourself what you're worth
Yeah.
is have people around you that can help you on that journey, whether it's just to hold it, right? So I have some girlfriends whose whole job is just to help me hold it, right? Then who are my advisors and who do I go to ask for help? And the combination of those two things is probably the most important. I'm building a business around being one of those pillars for my clients. And once we're in, they are so grateful. It takes about 6 months to a year for them to actually understand what's happening and actually be able to be like, oh, but once we're in, we're in. And that's really what I'm trying to be is that I get up in the morning trying to help people build their businesses and build their lives because I don't want them to be collateral damage to their businesses. And so
Yeah.
I have as many hard conversations about whether or not we need to put something down or slow down or not do something as I do about, hey, we're growing gangbusters, let's go for it.
Yeah, so essentially remembering the reason why you started, kind of for the motivation aspect, and then surrounding yourself with a team who has your best interests at heart and knows what they're doing, right? A lot of people want to do everything on their own and they're so scared to ask for help, but
And they're
I saw,
scared. What I would encourage is there's a lot of shame and a lot of fear in this process, and it's okay. And if you surround yourself by the right people, you can talk about those feelings openly. I think that's what I'm trying to break down to is that this idea that business is business, and I don't want to curse on the podcast, but it really, really makes me mad because if someone says it's just business, they're about to screw you over. And I want to build a better business community. I want to build a better business community because Noah, like you and I working together, helps make our communities a better place. And when
Yeah.
our communities are a better place, we're going to do just fine.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right?
It all starts from the individual. Business is business. That's the stupidest thing ever. Because when you disconnect from the business, is it just nothing then? I think that your business is an extension of yourself. If you work your hardest and find the right people, you're going to find success and kind of avoid the scammers and all the noise and all the doubt and everything. It's a hard thing to do, but
It's very, very personal. And so that's what I'm working to broker is that this is a personal process and we're going to do it with as many emotions as we're going to do it with
yeah.
business tactics.
Yeah.
So
No, that's great advice. I think more people need to hear that, especially early business owners. Amy.
sometimes you just need someone to tell you you're okay and it's
Yeah,
okay and it's going to be okay.
for
Right.
sure.
I do a lot of that too.
Yeah. And that's a huge part of it. It's not something that should just be overskipped or
Yeah.
over glanced at. So totally. Amy, thank you so much for hopping on today. Very fun conversation, very valuable. So for the audience who wants to know a little bit more about you, maybe reach out for either some personal questions or questions on the business, where can people find you at?
Absolutely. So our main website is www.ablazefinancial.com. You can find information about our stages. We're about ready to do an overhaul of our website, but it's where you can find the first amount of information and reach out. You can reach out to me at amy@ablazefinancial.com. I love hearing from you. And we just launched on Instagram at Ablaze Financial, and we're on LinkedIn as well. So you can find us on all the channels, and we're ready to speak with you. So really like to help you.
I will make sure to link everything in the notes below. And for anyone who's listening, that's a small business owner that's feeling stuck or needs an expert to help them out, please go check out Amy. Thank you, Amy.